Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating. We're going to look at how you can take ancient philosophy, literally, principles that are thousands of years old, and use them to completely transform your modern financial strategy. It's basically a masterclass in wealth building, custom-tailored for 2026, combining the wisdom of the ancients with today's economic realities. So, let's start with a massive question. In an era defined by fleeting trends, hyperconnectivity, and, honestly, widespread financial anxiety, how exactly can Stoicism serve as your step-by-step guide to real, lasting wealth? I know, it sounds kind of contradictory, right? A bunch of guys in togas giving us investment advice for the digital age. But as we unpack the sources in this explainer today, you'll see that human psychology actually hasn't changed a bit. And mastering that psychology, that is the absolute key to abundance. To get there, here's our actionable roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the panic tax. Then we'll move through a 3-step guide covering focus and control, calculating your projected monthly savings, and anticipating risk. Finally, we'll wrap up with the real purpose of money. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the panic tax. We have to talk about the fierce attention economy of the 21st century. In 2026, the battle for your attention is more aggressive than ever. Every app, every news alert, every social feed, they're all literally designed to make you react immediately and emotionally. And what happens when you react emotionally with your money? Well, a staggering 90% of retail investors actually lose it. 90%. Why? Because they react to every single notification instead of practicing what the Stoics called ataraxia, which just means mental tranquility. While the rest of the world is frantically buying and selling based on tomorrow's headlines, the Stoic investor is out there cultivating peace of mind, keeping their capital strictly focused on the long game. You see, that 90% who lose money are essentially paying an emotional penalty. It's what we call the panic tax. But the Stoic investor, they operate strictly on logic to entirely wipe out that tax. They absolutely refuse to sell at the bottom just because a news alert scared them, and there is no way they're buying at the peak just because of FOMO. By simply maintaining that ataraxia, staying cool and logical, you are already putting yourself ahead of 90% of the market. It's a huge advantage.
Which brings us perfectly to step 1, focus and control.
This is where we take the famous Stoic dichotomy of control and apply it directly to investing. You've got to firmly divide your financial world into 2 distinct buckets. One bucket holds the stuff that is entirely out of your control. Things like AI algorithms shifting the market, what the Federal Reserve is doing with interest rates, or the wild volatility of cryptocurrencies. If you spend your mental energy worrying about those, you will definitely lose focus. Now, the other bucket, that holds your zone of power. These are the things completely under your control. Your personal risk management, how you diversify your portfolio, and, most importantly, your own judgment against fear. The whole point of step 1 is to relentlessly focus your energy exclusively on that zone of power. Okay, moving right along to step 2, projected monthly savings and strategic minimalism. It's time to turn all that mental discipline into hard mathematics by taking control of your cash flow. To understand this, let's look at Seneca. Seneca was actually one of the wealthiest men in ancient Rome, but he regularly practiced what's called voluntary discomfort, or voluntary poverty. He literally spent days eating cheap food and wearing rough clothes just to prove to himself that his happiness didn't depend on his stuff. Fast forward to 2026, and applying Seneca's practice means actively choosing to avoid lifestyle inflation. Just because your income goes up doesn't mean your baseline expenses have to go up with it. We use voluntary discomfort today to resist that massive urge to immediately upgrade our cars, phones, or houses just because we can. Instead of financing the latest status gadget, let's just look at the math for a second. If you practice this strategic minimalism and decide, not to buy that expensive new vehicle purely for status, you free up some serious cash flow. By saving just $400 extra a month and applying a modest 9% compound interest rate, that sober lifestyle choice yields over $150,000 in just 15 years. That's a lot of money. This isn't about torturing yourself. Actually, scratch that. It's about making a highly strategic choice. You're trading those short-term, fleeting status symbols for long-term, rock-solid financial power. And that sober lifestyle, combined with the magic of compound interest, is a direct link to achieving real financial freedom. It proves that living below your means isn't some sort of punishment. It is a calculated, highly effective path to literally buying back your time and your autonomy. Next up is step 3, anticipating risk.
This is arguably the most powerful psychological tool in the entire Stoic arsenal. It's all about how you prepare mentally before making major purchases or reacting to chaotic markets. You must practice what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, which translates to the premeditation of evils. Basically, it's the practice of visualizing the absolute worst-case scenario. Say you're about to commit to a massive mortgage. You need to visualize exactly what you'd do if you lost your job. Or in investing, you mentally accept a 30% drop in a highly volatile tech market before it even happens. Think back to real-world cases like the 2008 financial crisis or the sudden market crash during the 2020 pandemic. Those sudden pullbacks absolutely wiped out unprepared investors who totally panicked and sold at a huge loss. But if you've already sat down and deeply visualized that drop, you've built an invisible mental shield against the chaos. The shock is completely gone.
And because that shock is gone, you can fully embrace that famous investing maxim: be brave when others are fearful. By preemptively accepting the risk through premeditatio malorum, you are completely shielded from the panic that infects everyone else. When the market inevitably drops, and that 90% of retail investors we talked about earlier are running for the exits and selling at a loss, you are perfectly calm. You've got your cash reserves ready from your strategic minimalism, and you can confidently step in and scoop up high-quality assets at a massive discount. Your patience and preparation literally turn a terrifying market crash into a huge opportunity. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the real purpose of money. Let's take a step back and reframe why we're even building this wealth in the first place. For Stoic, wealth is absolutely not the ultimate good. It's simply what they call a preferred indifferent. That means, hey, it's nice to have, and it's definitely preferred over being poor, but it does not define your moral character or your ultimate happiness. It's nothing more than a practical tool. And what exactly is that tool used for? It's used to amplify your freedom and your ability to act with virtue in the world. You don't build wealth to hoard it like a dragon or to show off to your neighbors. You build it so you have the absolute autonomy to make choices that truly align with your deepest values. So, based on everything we've explored today, from eliminating that panic tax and mastering the dichotomy of control to calculating your projected savings and actively visualizing risks, I want to leave you with one final crucial thought. Are you going to let the attention economy make you a slave to your money? Or are you finally ready to use these ancient, proven principles to become its master?